afterwards, not live. So I invite you to send your questions if you want, and then Eliane or someone from Reapprehendation can forward to me, and I will answer any questions you might have about the subject. So let's start to contextualize the theme about aging. First, we're going to be talking about the aging from a broader perspective, in a sense, what's aging, what impacts our process of aging, and afterwards we're going to look from a conscientiological point of view as well, because we are talking about the subject under the eye of the approach of conscientiology. And then we're going to be talking about the theme of ageism. We understand what is this, how important it is we understand aging process, and we'll be talking about this in order for us to de-dramatize and respect this time of our life, okay? So let's start then and giving here the first thing we always present in any activities that we perform in conscientiology, always present this, the principle of disbelief. So I invite you to apply throughout all this presentation this principle. So don't believe in anything, or not even what we hear in this webinar, even what I'm saying. So experiment, have your own experiences. Why this principle is so important? Because it's every information we have, and nowadays it's we are bombarded with information. We are bombarded with a list of things that you should do in order to improve that or that or that. We have lots of people inviting and talking about these things, and many things about our quality of life, our emotion, relationships, but what we observe, it is we only produce knowledge, our knowledge, when we have the experience, when we know what is related to that experience. So that's why it's important that when we believe, we just swallow a knowledge. We do not think about that. We do not use our critical sense. So use your critical sense. Think if it has logic for you. It's also very important we have an open-minded and not a biased-minded. What is the open-minded? Okay, I will see if this has logic for me. If there is a tool or that I can apply, or will apply and see if it results for me. But if it's not, so I'll leave it. When we are biased, we just filter the information and we select the information in accordance with what I already know. And this gives us a very little room to renew our own knowledge and information about anything around us. So please give yourself and the principle of disbelief and keep your critical thinking. So let's start to see what is, we're going to put here, we have a slide. Eliane, can you put there for us? It's the definition. Before that, as we are talking about from a conscientiological point of view, conscientiology, projectiology are a set of evolutionary ideas. It's a new science that proposes a set of evolutionary ideas proposed by Dr. Vieira, in order for us to study consciousness. And when we are studying a reality, we take into account these 7 principles. So you see the name there, but I will explain in a way that you can understand. First, what is holosomatology, which means when I'm talking about here, I'm going to talk about to take into account that this consciousness, the being, the self, the Atma, it's a consciousness. We all are consciousness. In evolution, we use 4 bodies or vehicles to manifest ourselves in different dimensions, which comes to understand the second principle, which is multi-dimensionality. So this consciousness manifesting in different dimensions, and that's how we understand. How do we know that? Because when you have an out-of-body experience or a more extreme experience called near-death experience, you're gonna see this reality. For the person, is a reality, now that he or she is manifesting in another dimension. we take into account this consciousness, what we are or who we are today is not only an influence of our genetics or the influence of this life only, but our series of experience that we have been having throughout many existences. That's called seriality. And in the manifestation of the consciousness, in this dimension, we understand that we have a physical body, but our manifestation, more above anything, it's energetic. So we need to manifest in this dimension, we need to use energy to manifest in this dimension. How do you see that? Well, when you talk with someone, you enter an environment and you feel like ick or it's strange, I'm feeling really down, I'm feeling really up, nice, I'm feeling energized, and this has a relation with this energy. I'm talking about very superficially. We have many classes given for the consensual-centric organization, representation, so that go deeper in these subjects. And some another two aspects, philosophical aspects of consensuality, which is very important for us to understand in terms of the evolution of consciousness. It is throughout our growing or manifestation of consensual maturity, means the more we mature ourselves, the more experience we have in ourselves, we tend to have a more universalistic manifestation. What does it mean, universalism? We are more in line with the laws of the universe. Let's bring down and break down this to make easier to understand. We tend to have a more connection with the reality we have, ours and others. So we could say that we understand, we tend to understand more the consensual reality. We accept consciousness and we accept us for who we are, beings, consciousness in evolution, not based on our belief system, not based on what we do, not based on what we have, or the color of our skin, or our cultural background or economic background, but just the fact that we are conscious, we all are consciousness in evolution. Even the conscious that we call subhumans, that fires, that animals, the plants, and everything that surround us that has life, no? To encompass this reality, we understand as well our cosmoethical manifestation, which is the ethics of the cosmos. What does it mean that? That we have a list of things that makes us ethical? No. It seems that evolutionary speaking, the greater maturity we have, the universalism increase, the more we enter into, or we enter or not, but we resonate in our behavior more with these ethics of the cosmos. So it's not necessarily a human ethics, which is based in the law, the justice, but it encompasses the max mechanism of evolution of consciousness, where we all are included. And in cosmoethics, usually I like the definition that's given by Dr. Vieira, which is the level of our self-incorruptibility. What does it mean? Every time I'm doing something that I know is not okay, but I carry on doing this, I'm having an anti-cosmoethical behavior. So it's not determined by external reality, but it's us with us. And that's why I like this definition, because it's very practical and we apply in our day-to-day. And we're going to be talking about here some aspects that relate with the process of aging and how this is important. And another aspect we talk about and we research and we work on, it's the self-research. It's the ability for us to not teach, but to research ourselves. We have a paradigm, scientific paradigm, that we have a scientist research as a subject or an object of study. In conscientiology, we do that, but we do as well, we research ourselves. So there is an experience as energy. I'm going to apply myself and I will see how it works for me. If someone tells that it's okay, what's very interesting, if you exercise, I don't know, 30 minutes a day, and the results of that will improve your concentration, whatever, you're going to do that. I'm going to do that with myself, and I will see the results, using always the principle of disbelief. Self-research, and it's not only about how we use our body, but how we manifest our emotions, our flow of ideas, how we think about things around us. So those are the principles we're going to be applying to look at the process of aging. As you saw, I have a work in this field I've been studying. It's a fascinating subject. And so in here, we're going to look from those perspectives in order for us to discuss some things. All right? So, Eliane, let's, do you
Can
have
we
any
move?
question, Eliane?
No, not a question. I'm just reflecting about the whole soma, because we have four bodies or vehicles of manifestation. And I suppose they get old as well. They get old, not only the soma, that is the physical body. I think you're going to talk about that during your
Yeah,
presentation. So I'll let it flow, but I'm just thinking about how each vehicle behaves
yeah.
in this process of getting old. Yeah,
All right.
because
Let's hold on there, because
hold
that
on.
question is very important, because it's gonna be in line. Hold on, because I'm gonna give this definition, and we're gonna be talking about this definition, and then we're gonna be talking about how it's impact all her whole bodies. Okay, so when Eliane talks about the whole, that we have four bodies that we study, we have the physical body, which is the body that ages, the body that feel pain, is the body that we need to shower every day, clean every day, the feel hunger. It's the body that we are most familiar with, and it's a paradoxical thing. Oh, no, I don't know if it's a paradox, but it's the most primitive body that we have, yet one of the most important ones, because if we don't treat well this body, we can't manifest in this dimension for longer. So that's why it's important we understand this relation. Then we have energetic body, and then emotional body. The emotional body, it's a more subtle body that we can become more familiar with this body when we have an out-of-body experience. And then we have the mental body, which is a more subtle body that allows us to go to dimensions, more subtle dimensions. If you want to understand more about the experience that you can have with this body, we talk about enlightenment, or mental projection, or expansion of consciousness in a broader perspective. Okay, so when we talk about aging, what is aging? Now, according to the Britannic definition, we have a progressive physiological changes in an organism that leads to senescence, or decline of biological functions and of the organism's ability to adapt to metabolic stress. So our body, we change it, obviously, by the use of it throughout the years. We're gonna lead to a senescence. Senescence is a natural aging process of our body. It's a decline of our biological functions. And so aging takes place in a cell, an organ, or the total organism with the passage of time. It is a process that goes on over the entire adult lifespan of any living thing. So it's very important that I stress here and contextualize actually why we are studying aging nowadays. Lots of people are talking about this. Some countries, they are ahead of time in terms of research in this subject, like USA, Japan, Spain. Some countries, they because the process of aging start to occur throughout of many years. Like France, they took 100 years for their population ages, whereas not we, like in Brazil, South America, India, this process of aging of population, it happens only around 20, the past 20 years. It's a boom. Why now we are living more? It's an unprecedented event in our lives. So it's the first time that we are having consciousness taking or living to the eights, to the nights, or to the hundred, as we have in USA and Japan, a high number of centenarians. So it's unprecedented in the history of our humanity. And if we think about how this has impacted our existential program, no, we talked about existential program and the preparation for a new life, the intensive courses and so on. How has we contemplated that before we were born? What if we saw what are the elements that we need to remind us that will help us to have a more productive exercise of our evolutionary life in this moment. So we're going to be talking about a little bit touch about this, but I would like to start this reflection as well. So we see that why this population increased, the old population increased, because we improved a lot our level of hygiene. We have a medical technology that is able to increase our life expectancy. We have medicine interventions, we have vaccines, lots of resources that can help the physical body to stay alive longer. Whereas maybe 20, 50 years ago, what would happen? A person will reach the 50, 60, they were already senile, and then they will die very quick due to some illnesses or something. They will die very quick. Nowadays, it doesn't happen. And due to this reality, I will give you some figures just for us to understand the dimension of this. No, the data, it's from WHO, the World Health Organization. By 2030, we have 1 in 6 people, they will be over the 60 or over aged. So we will have 1 in 6 people, they will have 6 or more years old by 2030 around the world. So the population, the aging population will increase considerably. There is another factor that population is aging as well. It's the fact that people are not having so many kids as well. So, and the population will get a little bit more longevity, and then they will have more the opportunity to stay in this life longer. Due to the fact, and one thing that I would like to do differentiation in terms of, one thing it's senescence, and another thing it is senility. Senility, it's actually a pathological aging process, which is permeate. There is a predominance of dependence and also a biological deterioration, cognitive deterioration, physical cognitive deterioration. So that's senility. And not necessarily senescence will lead to senility. The research has been showing that two things we need to understand. We do age from the day we actually come out of the womb of our mothers. We start to age. So our body the machine start to enter all these transformations, cell transformation, and we are aging. Not to the point that we can see it. With the pass of the time, we see the alteration of metabolic activities. We're going to see our skin, our muscles, our ability to metabolize food, and so on. So all the response in our physical body. So everything happened in our physical body. So there is if you are interested, you can check Tilda. It's a research. They just released a book called Age Later, where they longitudinal research where they follow some people in Ireland, and they start to see all the process involved with aging. And in this research, they found that around 8% of our process of aging, it's influenced by our lifestyle. Only 20% it's influenced by our genetics. Many years ago, we would think that we have some genetic profile, and this will influence the way we age. But research now shows that's not like this. Absolutely, our lifestyle will have a big impact in the quality of our aging. And what are the things that impact our lifestyle? Are we exercising? Are we sleeping well? Our nutrition, now how much we eat, and what we eat, our ability to relate with other people and the people who we relate to, we have relation with. So all these aspects, and another thing, our ability of stimulate our brain, which stimulate the neuroplasticity. So what is the neuroplasticity? It's our ability to renew our synapses and enrich our the connection between our neurons and make our brain active, right? So 8%. So let's go back what Eliane said. No, Eliane, you mentioned how this impacts every single part of our the aging will impact our bodies. One thing we're gonna see when we study 4 bodies, we know that each of these bodies they influence each other. Let's see, if I move energy and I improve my flexibility, my energetic flexibility, I will affect the cells of my body. I will become more sensitive to the necessities of my body. Like, I don't know if you guys perceive that when you move lots of energy, you know exactly what type of food you're gonna need, or where you have some blockage and you can unblock that. But if you are with your body and you eat something that intoxicates you, this will repercute in your energetic body as well. And we also know that our emotions, the production of our emotions, the emotions we manifest, will impact our energetic body and therefore will impact our physical body. We usually I used to give advanced one, and I used to say that our physical body is the tip of the iceberg. I used to give an example that I'm going to give here. It's like, do you know when you have a surgeon, and the surgeon is dealing with the tools making a surgery. So you see the ability of that surgeon by using how he used their tools during a surgery, an intervention, a surgery intervention, okay? With our bodies, the same. So how we see the consciousness or our qualities, our weak traits and so on, by looking at what the most visible thing we have, which is our physical body. And then you see our quality, our consciousness, how the consciousness use all this body, and then we appear in our physical body. In reality, there is one thing in 700 experience, sorry, the urbanized, the book of reurbanization, where Professor Val talks about something that it helps us to think about the process of aging. He talks about, the idea of young is someone that has lived a little period of life. So obviously, if someone has been here for 20 years, little period of life. Old, it is something that lived longer, right? So the time will age our physical body. It's inevitable. So this thing of the myth of youth, that we somehow And there are now lots of research trying to reverse the effect of aging, trying to postpone aging. That's great because it will help to diminish many illnesses that comes not because of age, the senescence, but because the lifestyle and how we use this body that take us to that path. Like someone who has a great intake of sugary, carbohydrate, poor carbohydrate diet, this person will increase the level of insulin. They will probably be candidates in a long run for a diabetes. And people might think, oh, the age of 6 or 7, I'm going to become diabetes because of the age. Not necessarily. It's because the lifestyle took the body to that path, right? And there is one researcher, David Sinclair. He thinks, and last year has been proposed that age is a illnesses. So they're saying age is illnesses. So it was, we had a big backlash with a reaction from the scientific community, medical community, thinking that, whoa, if you say that aging, it is illnesses. So by the time that I do 65, I complete 65, we socially, in some countries 65, in other countries 60, which is where you stopped working and you enter the retirement time. So that person is sick. So one of the arguments counter that was that. But on another hand, the argument it is if we start to look from the illness that come on this age, we can have a better intervention. Personally, I think no, not at all. We need to look aging as a part of an integral life. It's a history of our life. We actually, the way we age, it's going to be the result of the experience we had throughout our lives. It's not I age and tomorrow I start to manifest pain here, illnesses there. No, I build up due to the use of the body in a more or progressive or health way or not. But let me come back to the idea that Professor Wald puts here. The time aging the body. From our use of the body, inevitably, the genetics, the environment we have a contact with, our food, our lifestyle, and so on. But with time, our intimo rejuvenate, intimo, the consciousness, all the time, we can rejuvenate through the paragenetics. So what does it mean, this idea, which I found really interesting when we think about this, because ideas that we have is once the body ages, all the other bodies therefore are going to age. No, not necessarily. If we keep mental body, flexibility, if we keep the liking of recycle. We talk about this, recycling our existence, changes, attachment, detachment. If we start to understand more how we deal with the losses in our lives, which are impactful with our emotions, if we start to control the weight of our body, we look after our body, we have more admiration, we like adaptability, we exercise the trait of adapted to new things and like new things, learn new things. This will end up giving us more perspective of aging in a healthier way. So what I'm saying it's not only the look of our body to understand. Nowadays, if you want to have a super body, you have everything in your hand. There are great researchers, free information, YouTube, in Instagram, neuroscientists, really great people. If you want to understand about your emotions, great professionals giving huge amount of information free on internet. The thing is, it stops here. Because if I think, and that's where we need to understand the theme we are putting today, ageism. What is ageism? Ageism means Can you put, please, Eliane? But you keep there because we can start to have a discussion about if you have some questions. But the next slide. Yeah, I put the holosoma, but you can pass because we explained already the holosoma. But I would like to talk about ageism because, see, we have all the information. I was saying we have lots of information how to age. I have a protocol. I've started to study this. I have affinity with the subject for many years. I like it. I'm fascinated with the brain. And I remember one of the first class in conscientiology that we talked about the holosoma and the body, the physical body. One of the most important things was the brain. Because it's the most noble organ we have in our physical body. So, and that caught me, and I thought, whoa. In the decades of 90s, they were dedicated to the study of the brain. Nowadays, you can have classes on neuroscience online of great professionals and so on to understand this. So we have instruments in our hand in order to improve our physical body. But there is something that block someone to go after that. It's not because I have
That's
the
what I wanted to
information
say.
that, yes, so you can say.
People, yeah, in society, there is a lot of resources and supplements and information about not getting old physically and getting beautiful. You can take plastic surgeries, you can take, there are a lot of nutrients that in the past nobody knew about it, and you can make use of that for your physical body. But the point that I want to point out here is the internal recycling that we have to go to. And we call it in conscientiology, we call ego karma. We can see if our ego karmic account, that is the things that we owe to ourselves, for example, being able to detach from certain habits, for certain postures, being able to forgive people, to learn other things. As you have just mentioned, you've told us about that. I'm just wanting to reinforce that importance of recycling ourselves internally, intraconscientiously. And people, for that, people has to have self-knowledge. That is something that helps a lot in these recyclings. That's what I wanted to point out. And after, I have a question here. Can I
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
it now? It's from Anna Yogan.
Yes,
Anna
definitely,
is,
definitely.
she's from Miami. Okay. She's asking, do you think aging and becoming senile are synonymous of becoming sick, or would it be possible to age and die without becoming sick?
Yeah. I definitely, with the research, it's very little, okay? I still have lots to learn, lots to apply myself. I'm aging as well, so lots of things that I'm saying here are based on my own experience as well. But I think definitely we can age naturally and without become senile necessarily. According to the research, and you're going to see one of the things that are increasing considerably the research about aging is the occurrence of cognitive deterioration and Alzheimer. According some researchers, we're going to have a great number of people with Alzheimer. And what these researchers are looking and find it is that we can prevent. There is no way you can cure once the person develops Alzheimer, which start to develop around 40 years old. We don't have the remedy for that, right? So now they are looking at ways to prevent to occur that. And there are many informations on that's when people talk about it, decrease your amount of sugar or carbohydrate and so on. It's an intervention of our lifestyle that can help us to prevent that sickness. We are not going to be sick. We can't just say, oh, absolutely, I'm not going to be sick. But we can work based on what they are talking about, the epigenetics as well, how our lifestyle impact on the quality of our body and the quality of our aging. So we, as we started to change our relation with our body, in a sense that we start to see the things that we can do to keep our body health. Not the aspect that Liane said, which is still a focus in many cultures. In Brazil, it's very strong with the myth of youth. No, youth, it's equal beauty or value in society, and that's probably why we have so many. Brazil is the first country with the USA in cosmetic intervention, Botox. There is a harmonization all
Facial
to prevent
harmonization.
facial
That's very, it's
harmonization.
on fashion.
Yes, and so all these interventions to keep people young, that's different. Okay, if I am trying to do all these things with the objective of getting young, I'm actually sabotage myself in a sense that okay, I'm gonna do this, all these until I to prevent myself to be old, just because I have a demand, a social demand on that. So when we talk about aging, it's very important to stress here. It's very interesting if we think that we have an objective reality, which is the physical aspect of aging, but we have a subjective reality as well. We have a subjective relation with this aging. How I feel about the aging define how we deal with it. So that's what is ageism. Uh, what is ageism? It's the preconcept. So ageism, this is the definition for WHO as well, the World Organization, Health Organization. What is ageism? Is the stereotype, how we feel, the prejudice, how actually the stereotype is how we think, the prejudice, how we feel, and discrimination, how we act towards others or oneself based on age. See, ageism, the World Health Organization has dedicated the next 10 years to intervene in many aspects related to aging. Implement in some countries the policies for dealing with improve the quality of life of the aged population, increase their ability to have mobility, independence, and so on. And among all these interventions is to tackle ageism, because according to many different research, ageism it's go against to the aging process. Because of these preconceptions that permeate our culture, permeate ourselves, or the places where we have contact with, people can develop depression, and also can influence in how people will intervene in their healthy or their illnesses based on their thoughts. I found this very interesting because our society in general, what's the priority that we need to take in terms of aging and understanding and understand aging? First, we needed to decondition ourselves in terms of aging. There are so many people that think, okay, I'm aging, I can't do that, or I can't return to a university at the age of 60 because this is not for me anymore. I attend people and I hear that sometimes. I can't just go after my dreams because I do not have time anymore. I can't just leave this relationship, which is sex, and I don't like. But I have been here for so long, and when I go, it's too late, right? So this is how we condition ourselves. Because of age, we limit our opportunity to live our lives. We limit our opportunity to learn. We limit our opportunity to face the challenge and the adventure of being alive, okay? And the other is the dramatize. So, oh my gosh, I lost my ear, my ability to hear. Yes, it's impact, it's a loss. But there are other ways that I can compensate. I can put auricular, or I can, or oh my gosh, my face is getting flaccid. So I have more wrinkles. Oh my gosh, I'm getting old. Or I have menopause. Now I can't have sex anymore. Now I have lots of these symptoms that are related to my invalidity of having sex, or males. Now, in the case of females, how we react to that. So we dramatize the aspect of aging. And as a result of that, sometimes there is an ageism, benevolent, that's called, where people have this relation with the older population of the elderly, that, oh, I need to protect him because they are fragile. Or I need to talk to them like I'm talking with a kid because they need that attention, or they are too fragile. So this is benevolent, but we are disrespecting that consciousness has been here for many years, and they have their experiences, and they are so valuable. And another thing about the benevolent as well, it's very, very present in our relation with our parents. Our parents start to age, and we can't deal with their decline, physiological, biological. They get a little bit slower, and we assume that they can't go to supermarket anymore. They can't walk by themselves. They can't get a Uber because it's too dangerous. They can't. And we put that elderly person in a prison and think, oh, you have to be here because I'm protecting you. In reality, protection is not control. You are disrespect the individuality of that person. So this has relation with aging. And aging, we think and we feel. We are prejudiced. And the prejudice is not in relation to us with others, but us with ourselves. It's when we think, when we feel that now that I'm retired, I'm gonna have a easy life, or I'm gonna just wait for death to come, or I'm gonna be looking after my grandchild. Hang on. You probably have 40 years, 50 years on your hand. Are you going to be doing this for the rest of the 40 years, 50 years on your hand? So ageism, it's something that it is present in our society. It's a result of the culture where we live. It's a big component of our culture. It's a big component of our biology, how people see the aging process. And also, it's a big component of our own experiences. If I see my parents, my grandparents, aging in a bad shape, or decline profusely, I assume that age is going to be like this. So people are aging around us, they are mirror. That's very important. And ageism, we start from this young age, build up those absolute truths about aging, and having a preconcept. Why I'm going to think about age in my 20s? This researcher, David Sinclair, he thinks that we should start look at our aging process at the age of 20, because that's where we can start to prevent, like Anna asked. That's probably where we are in a good shape to prevent and do prophylaxis for us to. You put there, no? Or would it be possible to age and die without becoming sick? Yes, because we are not only invest in better habits to increase the potency of our body, we move our hands, but also we are going after our dreams. That's another aspect as well. A person without purpose, they age, they die in life. Okay, do you have any comments,
I have a
Eliane?
comment here. It's from myself because I recognize myself as having a little bit of this ageism
Ageism.
toxins. Like I can't do. No, it's not for me anymore. I'm not in the age of that such a thing anymore. But it's not a good way to think. We can be more open and have very good experiences and learn more and interact more with people if we don't enter into this holocene of ageism. We have to think differently. So I'll try to recycle them. So I thank you very much this moment that I could reflect. Okay, of course, it's not for you to finish the lecture, please. It's just a brief thanks in advance because it was very useful for me. So that's it. And I have also another comment here. I'll
Yeah.
read it to you. It's from Christina Arakaki. Hi, Anna. Congrats for the live. Very interesting theme. I also think of that.
Okay. Thank you, Christina. Nice to see you here. Thank you. And thank you, Anna, for the question as well. Nice to see you here as well. Hasn't been seeing these two guys for a long time. Yes, and so what you were saying, it's not a privilege of yourself only. We all have ageism. If we start to self-research, if we start to see really ourselves, the perspective we have in relation to not only our lives or the opportunities we have around us, and the aspect of aging, we do have lots of preconception and sometimes ingrained, and sometimes you do not even perceive. Sometimes it's a comment we do, and how we react towards our parents, how we react towards the elderly in a queue of the bank. I remember I worked in a bank for many years, and I was a cashier, and I used to attend people while I was at university, paying retirement, the
Mhm.
money, no,
Retirement
the
money.
monthly, yeah, and it was very interesting how they were slower. They had difficult to look at the numbers on the screen. It wasn't a screen that time. Um, they have to put their numbers now on the scanner and so on. And some people will get very irritated, even myself. But with the pass of the time, I started to look and say, whoa, what's happened with their eyes? Sometimes we are talking with people and we started to get impatient because the person asks you 2, 3 times the same question. And then we start to ask the person has problem with the hearing because with the pass of the years, our auditory equipment maybe can change, and we lose the ability to listen some frequencies that will make a big difference when we are listening someone talk. And some people think that they were going to talk with the people loud, and this will make a difference. No, it doesn't. No, some people like these ages. No, when I've arrived back in my hometown, my mom had to go to the hospital, and I spent with her 3 weeks there. And it was very interesting because they assume she's in her early 80s. They assume that she used napkins, and they come with the napkin. And I said, "Well, excuse me, have you asked her?" I didn't need to say anything because she looked at him and said, "Did you ask me if I use napkins or not?" you know, but because she speak out. But people assume someone in the early 80s will use napkins. No, every time we generalize, every time we underestimate our possibilities, obviously there are some changes. It's natural. You don't walk so quick as you used to. You might not listen so clear as you used to. Your eyes might not work as you used to. But it doesn't mean that you lost the game or you now have to retire your life. Some people retire from job and retire from life. What does it mean retire from life? They lose project perspective. What do I have to do now? What my next step? And I
Yes.
think consensual projectology has many tools to give us the opportunity to be on our toes, which means
Very important.
to really recycle our lives. We do have opportunities, many opportunities to recycle, to change ourselves. What does it mean, recycle? To reevaluate, to look things from a different perspective, to become more self-conscious about things, to question our own absolute truth. If I am at my 60, think like I've been thinking since my 20s, there is something wrong on that. Some people, they say with lots of proud, I am like this for 50 years. I've been doing this for 30 years. Hey, wake up. Why? Because our brain, physical brain, loves novelty and mistakes. There is a researcher, Andrew Huberman. He has a great Instagram account and lots of great videos in YouTube. And he usually talks, he's a neuroscientist, and he talks about how our brain likes mistakes. The more mistakes we do, learning things that we haven't learned for a long time or we don't know, that's how our brain started to work on find solutions
Right.
for us to learn that. So if someone has been for the past, I don't know, 30 years, only study human knowledge, so from now on, go and study mathematics. Or someone never did a dance, go and do dance. So what he says usually with enrich our neuroplasticity and increase our neuroplasticity, it is expose us to activities that are new, literally new. It's not something that I ever heard. Like, if you do not know what language, go and learn a language. you know
Very good. And
uh,
there, Anna, there is also in internet you can find these classes, most of them for free. You only have to have a good equipment, a good mobile phone or a good laptop that you can learn. It's great. We
yeah.
are in good times. We can't complain.
Yes, we are, and that's why there is why I think ageism is very important, and we needed to talk about more about this to become more conscious about our posture in relation to ages, not in relation to us only, but in relation to other people. And there is the ageism or the preconception on these ages between people within the same age. Like one person have 70s, they look at their colleagues at 75 and say, "Oh, those oldies." So, come on,
True, true.
those oldies, like they were
There
far
is.
away
I've
from
seen
that. Yeah.
everything you mentioned. It's true. Anna, I have a question from Domingo Santos that is
Uh-huh.
from São Paulo. I'll put it here.
Yeah.
In the 21st century, one of the most significant population trends is aging. The elderly have been the terror of economic growth. Do you think this also contributes to the prejudice with the elderly?
Domingos Santos, thank you very much for your question. Really, you put the finger on the one of the most important things that actually was displayed and came into transparent. It comes into people discuss more exactly that. In some cultures, aging, like you enter into the retirement time, you start to be a burn for the economy in the country. And some people taking this on board, and they think they are burn not only for the economy in the where they live or the culture, but as well for the family. And this is an ageist attitude. So we have policies in place in some governments or in some countries that stress or put this that creates the ageism. That's why who is giving a talk and helping a lot of people to talk more about this, because it's in our culture. I'm going to give you an example, not in relation only to this aspect of the economic growth. But one more I'm going to give within that. Nowadays, what people think, and here in Brazil, there are lots of great movements talking about the entrepreneur at the 50s or 60s. People become, they create companies on their own, startups at this age, because they are extremely productive, they have so many experiences, and they can return to the community all this information. But if the person take on board this thought that they are burden for society, yes, this is ageism. One, from the external aspect, which is the one type of our the ageism, which is external in our micro universe, in our culture, and then we become thinking that, okay, now I'm 65 or I'm 70, I'm 80, I'm a burned. And we can't think that. That's anti-cosmoethical. And that's why we talked about that. How in earth someone who lived a life, reach 80, reach 90, reach 70, doesn't matter where that consciousness they reach. It doesn't matter. They actually got to that point in their lives. So they, at least, they deserve respect. Respect and not only respect, but appreciation for what they've done. In COVID, during pandemic, there were many research, Domingo, that shows that the aging population, now the elderly people, they were actually putting money. They kept the family running with their money. So, or they were looking after the grandchild, giving support for the adult going to work. So they've seen that they support the economy, but in a way that people don't notice. It's like when
It's
now the
amazing.
feminist movement started to increase, but you know, when the woman, the housewife, that people thought, they are useless, they are at home, they do not nothing, do nothing. But the movement, feminist movement, and so on, they realized that the help they do staying at home, they have a very strong financial contribution. And the same is with this elderly population. They were providers in some families during the COVID. There were many research about this. Many things were exposed during COVID about the ageism. There are lots of articles on that, okay?
Very
And
good.
one thing that I would like to address in that, there is a book, very interesting one, which is The Encounters with Age Mythologies of Menopause in Japan and North America. This book, the author is Margareth M. She actually looked at the movement or the results of menopause in two cultures, Japan and North America. Japan, it's naturally different the way they deal with aging. I've been there and I've studied, observed many things. It's completely different due to how they deal in their culture. With the religion they have, the way they deal with the elderly. Since very young age, you learn to be respectful for these people. And what they found it is that due to the way the government, the policies in Japan, a woman, when she gets to reach menopause, she actually is going towards to the plane of looking after the elderly, right? In America, when she reaches the menopause, she actually can't reproduce anymore. And so she will be a burn because of that, because she's not reproductive anymore. In a way, she's not contribute to the economy. And so even the symptoms that, according to her research, they are very different. In North America, there are lots of hot flushes, all the symptoms that woman irritability, alter their sleep, and so on. In Japan, the woman, the maximum they have is tension in their shoulder, and that's it, and they move on and they go for life. So it's something that when we think about aging, we need to take into account. It is an objective thing, which is biology, but it's permeate with our psychology. It's permeate. It's bio-social situation, no? Cultural, now bio, psycho, social event. It's a biology, our psychology, and our social. So that's why it doesn't have one aging process. We have many. That's why it's
Depends on the
important we look at
country.
the person for who they are and not a model. You're gonna age like everyone else. No, according where you were born. Nowadays, with the just for you guys to think about this, okay? There is a research, lots of research in microbiome, which is the microbiome in our intestine, no? The bacteria that they are around our body. No? Professor Wald used to say that in the decade of 90s, he wrote in the 900, 700 experiment, he talked about the third brain. So nowadays they observe that if you there, you had your mom, you had a natural born naturally from what's called, I don't remember, when you're born,
Labor,
you have a natural, no, you have a natural parto,
I think it's labor.
labor, yeah, nature or natural, or you have cesarean, or you have the intersection on the surgery. So if you had a natural one, you're gonna have a more a quantity of certain microbiome that someone who hasn't been exposed to the vaginal canal of the woman, the mother. See how interesting is that? So down the track, you're gonna have some problem because of the way you were born. That's not fatality. Obviously, there are the ways that we compensate that. But what I'm trying to say, it is that aging, everything we are doing nowadays, that
That's right.
age, or people in the 20s or the 25 or 30s, will impact when they are 70 or 80 or 90 or 100.
That's great. Ana Paula, well, it unfortunately our time is over. We passed some 4 minutes, but I think it was worth to have this wonderful information, very useful for us in our daily life. And so well, that's all we have for today. We hope you have enjoyed. And if you still have questions, feel free to send them in the comment section. We will answer them. Okay? And I
I would
invite
like to ask
yes,
for the
please.
opportunity to be here to talk about this subject, and also to stress that it's worth, no matter what age you are, start to look around and see about this subject. And also, if you are aging, live with the younger as well. We learn a lot when we have the intergenerational relationships as well. So, good age for everyone. I wish to everyone a good age.
Thanks, Anna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eliane.
And I would like to enjoy to invite everyone who's listening to us to join us in our next live on May the 1st with instructor Alexandre Zaslavsky, who will talk about why our self-experiments are important tools for scientific research. So basically, he will be talking about this important tool of self-experiments. How can we do them? Okay, for our own evolution. And thank you very much for joining us today. Happy evolutionary journey for everyone.